and what we did is, of course, we are in contact with lots of teachers, administrators in our own county and then statewide. And so we started jotting down, what do we notice that people are saying, oh, don't do that. And some of these don'ts actually came from some of our parents on our staff, because they started noticing, oh, their school is asking them to do this, and this is just weird. I don't know how I'm going to pull this one off. And so we started talking about why is it weird or why is it a bad idea? And then that became one of our don'ts. One of the big ones is, as you know, distance learning is not a classroom experience. Very different situation. It's not about a scope and sequence and turning pages. It really is about figuring out, you really have to look at what are the key standards you want to teach. These are the key areas you want to teach these next 8 weeks, and really focus only on those areas. And you should do it at grade level or content level or class level, because that way, you know, the next, as that group moves up, you'll know that they got exposed to this during this crisis. Of course, most of our districts are not offering grading as a punitive. Most of the kids can improve their grades. The other big one that we found is we have to make sure that our parents are not the tutors. So they're not choosing to be home learning with their child. They, as we all are kind of forced into this situation. So our job is, I think, as educators, is to support them as possible. And then most importantly, be careful of these multi-steps. So my friend Greg just took down a link off our remote learning website, and I asked him why, and he said, well, you had to click this, to this, to this, to this, to finally get to the login page, and then you had to type in a bunch of information. Mike, it was too much of a hassle. Let's not even put it up there. And so we took it off our webpage because we don't want to encourage those complex kind of logins. This next group is everything you could be doing, but you just have to be careful. You have to understand that it could either take too long, it could be boring for the child, not engaging, right? So there's a variety of things you have to consider, but it's not that you want to stop doing any of these. You just have to consider that you might have to slow down or you might have to limit that. So of course, book work, if you can engage them in a variety of ways, book work being one, but not the only way. Testing, quizzes, you do have to be careful with Zoom in particular. They are improving their privacy, but you do have to be careful about using some online features because there are some privacy issues. So do check with your district on the privacy issues. Basic skills are necessary, don't get me wrong with that, but is that all? So that would be something you'd kind of look at and say, well, how can I get? And Dennis is going to go through a great math lesson that actually gets into more conceptual building. Not even touching on basic skills. And so it's an interesting way that Dennis kind of approached that. Instructional videos by others are always fantastic, but do view them first because there might be something funky or it might be wrong. So do be careful of those. We know there's
You've got mail.
We know there's excessive screen time, but you know, it's just, I think at the high school level is probably the more, middle school and high school is more problematic just because there's so many teachers that a child has. And so that is an art form that the middle school and middle school and high school teachers are going to have to be dealing with, but could be a lot of screen time. And then the idea, and we talked about it early on, is making assumptions about what's going on with the kids. Don't presume they have something. Make sure whatever you're giving them, they can do at home. And then the other one is there is new content. Of course, you're going to have new content. New strategies could be problematic because you got to teach them the strategy before they can actually use it. So that becomes more and more problematic. And then our big goes that we think is the most important, that we need to really be kind of pushing what we want our kids, what we want to be doing for our kids. So it's connecting with students, it's knowing about their family, it's flexible lessons, it's that also making sure we're connecting them with the social emotional. It's also then making sure that we're keeping things short. It says 20 to 30 minutes. If you can go 10 to 20, that's even better. I think short and sweet is good. We would never do a webinar longer than an hour, and every once in a while we get to an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we have to break it up into either 20-minute chunks or 10-minute chunks, because even as teachers, we kind of go crazy sitting in a webinar for 2 hours. Choice is the big one. Student agency, really, this is an opportunity to teach your kids to speak up and to have them think about how they learn and then apply that information to the work that they're doing. True Framework is a link that you can do there, and it's math focused, but it can be used at all content areas. The idea of focusing on problems, and then most importantly, I think, is that making sure you have strategies, and we talked about it earlier, that is about access, choice, and learner variability is huge. And then whatever barriers you can reduce. Right now, you're trying to reduce a few barriers, and slowly you're trying to reduce more and more is the goal. You cannot reduce them all, but your job is to reduce those big ones.